Okay, tell me your names, please.
I'm Ben Karen.
And Brielle.
Jimaneka.
Okay.
Dating is tricky. I think it's very much not as exciting in the fact that you kind of know it might go left faster than normal with dating apps. I just got swiped on the other day and someone was like, so, you like to suck dick? And I'm like, well, this is a good talk. So.
I feel like it's gotten progressively worse over the years. I feel like I got more dates when I was 21 a couple of years ago, just going to a bar or going somewhere and a guy would come up to me, whereas now I'm 24 and no one comes up to me anymore because everyone's just on their phones, used to, dating apps and things like that.
Yeah, dating is sort of foreign to me because I ended up marrying the very first person I ever dated, which sounds really cliche. The whole way through, I was like, there's no way that this is what's happening. There's no way. This is all going to fall apart because I'm not like some rom-com or something. But that's just the way that it turned out, and I had to trust that the thing that my heart was feeling was actually the truth, even though I was very scared that it was some sort of like cliche story. But I really don't know. I talk to my friends who are dating nowadays, and they find it really difficult. I find, especially with digital dating, seems oftentimes very impersonal, and people feel emboldened to act in ways that they wouldn't normally act in real life. So that sounds kind of terrifying to me.
What you did on your first date? Because maybe that's the secret.
Yeah.
Well, we were introduced by friends, and then after that we went to dinner, and then just haven't really been apart since. So it was kind of super easy. Yeah. I won the lottery. Yeah, I don't know how it happened, but yeah.
I think it's gotten better in some ways. There is always like a tailing off, like with the apps, where then it gets inundated with people that seem like they're the garbage people have now taken over the app or whatever. But at the same time, the things have gotten more efficient in some ways. So all in all, slightly better.
What do you mean efficient?
Efficient, time efficient. You only have so much time in your life, and every time you have to trade it. And some people are willing to, I guess that also goes to like the first date. Everyone has much higher standards on their first date than you would if you had been with the person for 5 years. The things that you would let them get away with are way higher than somebody on the first date. So the same thing goes with the apps and everything else, is that people set up criterion and they're weeding people out, maybe too flippantly, but on some level they're valuing their time, maybe.
That's true, but I feel like the whole convenience thing, that's what makes me upset, because I feel like people just want the easy way and they don't want to put in the work, or they don't want to be brave and go up to somebody in person. It's just easier on an app.
It's true, and it also destroys the idea that anyone is special.
Right.
When there's abundance and abundance
Exactly.
and abundance, that's the negative side of it, for sure.
Well, I wonder too if you're setting up this dating profile, which is forcing you to label yourself or to describe yourself. And I think humans are really complicated creatures, and something that is organic about dating in real life is that when you go into a room, you start to read the complicated nature of a person, and you understand them in a deeper way. And so I wonder if there's something challenging about the fact that in order to use this kind of a system, you have to oversimplify yourself and label yourself in order to make you consumable, almost.
Yes.
But you still have to do that on the first date as well. Actually, I think it was Erin that got me to see that some of those things aren't necessarily bad, that you have to go through a certain set of rituals and basically prove that you're not crazy by doing X, Y, and Z. And I guess from that standpoint, it's like, well, why do we have to talk about this nonsense? But it does make sense from the standpoint of, I'm just showing I'm not crazy by doing all the things that society wants me to do on a first date. And so whether it's first date or first message of an app, it seems like it's about feeling out what you're supposed to do and then making the statement, I'm not crazy.
I have been running into guys that like fetishize me because I'm a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's tricky to weed them out. You're like, oh, it starts off good, and then they're like, so. And I'm like, no, left, unsafe. So So I think that's kind of tricky moving through, and also knowing if when they ask, what do you do? And being a sex educator, they're like, oh, so that means X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, nope, not at all. Doesn't mean I'm giving you any free stuff. Doesn't mean I can do all these tricks. Maybe, maybe not. Not doing that. So those are the things, my struggles. So.
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate between being fetishized and somebody who's maybe you fit their preference?
The wording. I think sometimes the different wording, and of course there's preference, but the way that you approach me and the things that you say, like, I can't even come up with anything off the top of my head, but you automatically know as someone that's dealt with it, you're just like, oh, okay, this isn't like a good thing.
Right.
Like, this is like something you've seen and you want to try it out. Or though remember one? So I've never been with a black girl before. I've been wanting to try it. I'm not an ice cream. Like, this is not just something you try. And that's something I've run across more so being in LA, which I've only been here like a little under 2 years. So, I mean, it could be everywhere, but that's just my experience with it.
I wonder, I guess I don't have any personal experience, but doesn't the idea that you're dating based on preference, like, isn't that built on a lot of assumptions and stereotypes in the first place? That, like, if I say I prefer dating black people, then inherent in that statement is I think most black people act the same way or have these shared qualities. Like, is that not inherently troubling, the idea of dating by preference?
I wouldn't think like, oh, if I date a white guy, that all white guys are the same. So for me, it'd be like, no. It's like saying I date this kind of woman and they're all the same. No, because I think everyone's different.
Preference, it's going to be whether it's race or anything else. How are you going to decide, like, this is what I'm looking for if you don't start having some types of preference? Like, even if you were to keep race out of it, if it was like, okay, women that are stronger are preferable to me or something like that, if I'm still eliminating like 50% of the female population at that point. So it's a complex thing, but I think everybody's doing it on some level, even if.
I learned about it in school, and also my mom just kind of gave me like a brief talk. My dad never talked to me about it, but I think it's more of like a cultural thing. He's from Croatia and very traditional, and I think like talking about those kinds of things is just kind of weird to him, at least. Whereas like my mom was born here, and it's just kind of, I don't know, normal, at least a little bit. That's how I feel.
I got like a brief talk by my mom, but I had to do like my own research to like really know what consent was and how to have those conversations with people and how it's okay to change my mind whenever I want to. Like, that wasn't anything I learned in school ever. I wish, but no, not for me.
For me, it seemed like it was just embedded in everything everybody was saying, because it seems common sense and natural, but I don't recall an actual class, although I remember it being kind of behind a little bit of everything.
I remember, in sex ed having conversations around the idea specifically of like rape, but as an adult, I have now had conversations with a lot more nuance around consent, and those I think are even more powerful because they, like, the idea of rape, I think the way that it was explained to me or the context in which it was explained, I feel like that feeling about that you shouldn't rape a woman is almost protective of like men in the sense of using women as property rights, in the sense of like, I want my offspring to be my offspring, and that's like, that was sort of the lens I felt like that was placed over the whole thing was protecting men's access to women from other men. And I think the conversation that I've had since then is much more feminist-based, perhaps, and also it applies and it has benefits for everybody. And that conversation has been extended to like, you don't have my permission to touch my body. You don't have my permission to interact with me in this sort of a way. You don't have my permission to say these sort of things to me, that are sexualized or in a sort of sexually belittling way. I think that's really powerful because it creates mutual respect and it creates autonomy, and I think it's a better conversation than like women shouldn't be raped. That it's sort of that in itself is a little patronizing. I guess it's the essence of patronizing.
Yeah. Because there's so many men, males, young, old, whoever, that have been sexually assaulted, and people again are just like, well, you're fine, but their trauma continues on, just like women's trauma continues on. So why shouldn't there be safe spaces for them? Why shouldn't they be able to go to the police and say, this happened to me, and people are like, oh, well, she was hot.
I do think that it is going to be important in the next period of gay culture that we have a meaningful conversation around consent. Because I know as a gay man that in being in gay spaces, especially like gay party spaces, that there are plenty of times in which my consent has been violated. Maybe not in like a really traumatic sort of way, but even so, we need to establish human-wide, species-wide, that respect is essential to all of our experience. And when you go up to somebody and you violate their consent, you are essentially making a statement that what you want is more meaningful than what they want. In fact, you don't even care to check what they want, and that you have no respect for them, because if you did, you would actually ask that question of what they wanted.